So I think with this, we will continue with Leigh Sagar and his perspective on the terms of service and contracts. And that was fascinating and really useful because I've learned new things. I haven't really looked at Spotify and TikTok in depth myself. And what Leigh revealed in the video was really interesting. So perhaps a few words on that, please.
Thanks, Adina. Can you hear me? So,
yes, we can.
So today I learned a new expression, digital remains. Apparently it's an old one, but it's new for me, and I think it's excellent, and I will use it from now on. So the law currently applicable to information and privacy, I find really exciting. It's one of those things, particularly digital information. It's one of those things that you can watch it develop in real time because it's all so new, and the law hasn't been created to deal with it. So we have a parliament now that's got no time to deal with anything except Brexit and the pandemic, and has no time to make new law about things like digital remains, which for most people is not that important. But for us, it's important because we can see that in the future it will be important to everyone. But there's been a change in perspective, and mainly because of the pandemic and the way that people are starting to use technology so much more. Uh, the law and lawyers are having to catch up. And what they have to do is apply first principles to these things. And I'm a private client lawyer, so what I think about is about, well, what is the digital information? What's the nature of it, and what happens to it after we die, and what happens to it after we lose capacity, and who can deal with it, and what are the terms and conditions that are applicable to that digital information or the digital remains after death that prevent other people looking after it. And so we have the Computer Misuse Act, which is really important, which stops people using the accounts of people who've died or have lost capacity. So in my short video, I wanted really to make two main points in relation to social media platforms. The first related to the contractual relationship between the service provider and the user. So as in ordinary life, there's no opportunity for the average individual to negotiate the terms of his agreement with the provider. And and in most cases, nobody thinks it's worth bothering about anyway, and everybody just clicks, I agree. But this has consequences, as as I illustrated in a slightly tongue-in-cheek way, in the case of death, and particularly in the case of providers like Facebook and TikTok. It also touches on other things, like the work that's being done by my colleague Adam Steele at the Deakin University, where they're looking at the needs for some financial accounting by service providers like Google for the disguised assets that they are acquiring by obtaining the right to use information that they gather about their users for various purposes in the pursuit of profit. The second issue was about the content that's built up by users during the lifetime use of the service. Access after death is in many cases reliant, uh, pursuant to some flavor of RUFADA in the United States, on the availability of some authorizing algorithm on the platform, or the user's will, or both, or possibly a visit to the local court in California. The third point that I wish to add now is about the impersonation of a user by his personal representative or his attorney or other fiduciary. And this is about the Computer Misuse Act, which makes such impersonation an offense. The thing about this kind of impersonation that it provides a simple method of manipulating a deceased user's digital assets, so that some control can be taken of it, so that the person representative in most cases will be able to decide which information can be let out, which information cannot, which information he can take control of and look at. Uh, there are problems with this kind of thing. Making a statute, which would be needed in this case, making a statute that says that a personal representative or an attorney with a suitable court order can use the username and password of a dead or incapacitated user, uh, would would need some kind of trick, some kind of way to secure legitimacy, to secure, prevent fraud, and to prevent the abuse of the powers. But this is one way to think about dealing with this kind of thing, and something to think about in the future. I'll leave you with that.
That's great. Thanks very much, Leigh. I think we'll leave the questions for you for a bit later. So if I, or for chat as well.